Hi everyone, I'm Belen de Bacco and I'm a museum student educator at the Hunterian Museum, and today I would like to shed light on the relationship between the American artists Robert Rauschenberg and Jasper Johns, which was defined by both professional collaboration and romantic affection. They emerged on the American art scene at the time that abstract expressionism was dominant, challenging the model of the heroic, self-expressive artist championed by that movement. Rauschenberg and Johns prefer not to acknowledge the romantic relationship, nor their sexual orientation. Since the early 1990s, a number of art historians have argued for the importance of homosexuality for understanding their respective achievements. But at the same time, the artist's sexuality cannot be treated as a simple interpretative key that explains all their work. In the 1950s, Rauschenberg and Johns undertook commercial art projects, including window displays for the Fifth Avenue department stores and graphic designs for corporate clients and magazines, working under the pseudonym Maxon Jones Costume Display. They were the opposite of Andy Warhol's flamboyance and open expression of sexuality. Instead, Rauschenberg and Johns preferred to keep their sexuality private. But this was not only a personal choice, it was determined by the environment surrounding them. Art criticism in the 1950s did not allow any discussion of same-sex desire. This means that the experience of homosexuality at that time, whether Rauschenberg's or Warhol's, cannot be understood within the terms of what we now call gay identity. Key historical events like the Stonewall riots of 1969 are generally seen as the birth of the modern gay liberation movement. The 1970s were a period of greater public visibility, which is not always synonymous of acceptance of homosexuality. Both Warhol and, to a more limited degree, Rauschenberg were able to acknowledge their sexual identities more openly in the decades after Stonewall. In a conversation between Rauschenberg and the Australian critic Paul Taylor, which appeared in 1990 in Interview magazine, Rauschenberg says, "I'm not frightened of the affection that Jasper and I had, both personally and as working artists. I don't see any sin or conflict in those days when each of us was the most important person in each other's lives." Terms such as gay, lover, boyfriend, or homosexual are never mentioned by Rauschenberg. Instead, he describes his relationship to Johns as one of both personal and artistic affection, avoiding explicit reference to sexual intimacy or identity. In the same interview, Rauschenberg explains why he and Johns broke up, ascribing the reason to embarrassment about being well known socially. What had been tender and sensitive became gossip. It was sort of new to the art world that the two most well-known, up-and-coming studs were affectionately involved. Art historians argue that Rauschenberg and Johns' relationship had a decisive influence on their art of the 1950s. At the Hunterian, there are two artworks by Robert Rauschenberg, Front Roll and Horse Feathers 13-1. Front Roll is a lithograph from 1964, a poster-sized print featuring several photographs of the Statue of Liberty applied via silkscreen. It was produced at Tatiana Grossman's Universal Limited Art Editions, and it was printed from two stones, one marked in black ink and the other in red. The marks offer fractured views that remind us of the visual effect of wiping condensation from a window to gain glimpses of the world outside. The rest of the space is filled with scribbles, swirls, and bands of black and red whose arrangement reinforces the sense of spiraling movement. Horse Feathers 13-1 from 1972 is an example of Combine, the technique Rauschenberg was best known for, and which consisted in creating an artwork from discarded materials and mundane objects. This one specifically presents images of a ram's head, charts, and a packing crate, which are printed, and these are combined with collage printed elements to the right and left. Rauschenberg was interested in investigating how mass-produced images could provide random compositions, unrelated to the gestural self-expression practiced by the abstract expressionists. Finally, September is Pride Month, and through this brief insight talk, I wanted to highlight the wonderful work of two queer artists present in the Hunterian collection, Rauschenberg and Johns.